with an awesome filmmaker named Chad Hill, who has a film playing on September 23rd, 7:30, called Invitation. It's an absolutely beautiful film. I personally loved it. I'm super excited to learn more about it. So please welcome Chad Hill. Hey, what's up, Chad?
Hi, Kyle.
Good. It's good to meet you virtually. I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to meet in person. I appreciate all the filmmakers that are just super kind of cool about what's going on in the world, and obviously it's hard to put together a film festival during a pandemic. But thanks so much for it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's no problem at all. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So, Chad, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know we're meeting for the first time right now, but tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into filmmaking? Where you're calling in from? Give us a little backstory.
Yeah. So I live in a town in southeast Arkansas called Monticello, and I was originally from Louisiana, and I grew up, I always loved films, always had a background in film, but I ended up kind of pursuing other things. I went to school for chemical engineering, and that's what I do for work. But that passion for filmmaking has always stayed there, and over time, the last few years, I've had some opportunities come up to work in films and some small independent short films, particularly in northern Louisiana. And kind of how Invitation came to be was, this was my second short film that I got to make, and this was by far the biggest one that I was able to do.
Wow. It's absolute beautiful film, man. I love the cinematography. Can you tell us a little bit, for those who are watching you who maybe aren't familiar, tell us a little about the story without giving too much away.
Yeah. So the setup for Invitation is most of it takes place at the end of a church service, and this burned out pastor is, he gives the altar call, and he has this man come up to the front who is very emotionally overwhelmed and maybe a little too vulnerable for the pastor and his congregation's liking.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's a great story. And I would love to just show everybody kind of a quick preview of Invitation, which again is playing on the 23rd at 7:30. So let's take a look.
Good morning. What's your name, sir?
Ambrose.
Ambrose, it's great to meet you. Now, have you decided to give your life to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ?
Oh, sir. I want to.
Wonderful. Repeat after me. Jesus, I am a sinner.
Wow. Dude, again, I want to know about your cinematography. Who did it? Sort of what was that cinematography like in a church? Because the cinematography that is absolutely beautiful. So what was it like filming in a church?
Yeah, so I was really lucky to get to work with my friend Alexander Jeffrey. He was my cinematographer, and he's a filmmaker in his own right. He's done several short films that are very successful, and that have been very successful on the film festival circuit. And he's actually just working on finishing up a couple feature films. And it was just, I had been friends with him and had been throwing out some ideas, for some short films. And when this idea came up, I told another friend, that friend told him about it, and he reached out to me. He was like, hey, I want to work on that with you.
Wow.
And so we were really lucky to find this beautiful church in Shreveport, Louisiana. And Alex was just really, really intelligent to work with as far as, being able to communicate, okay, I want the scene to look like this, and to communicate this visually, like communicate this story visually, and how the dynamics between these two characters are changing. And he was able to bring his own ideas to the table with that, and really just turn it into something that was absolutely gorgeous, and better than I could have hoped for.
Yeah. It's the cinematography is breathtaking. I think that was one of the biggest comments from my judging team, is they absolutely loved the cinematography, and obviously the story. The story is such a unique setting. Where did that come from? That story. What inspired you to make a story like this?
Yeah. So I've grown up. I was raised as a Christian, and I still consider myself a Christian. And I don't know, it's just kind of growing up. There's a lot of things you absorb from the culture of, going to church and things like that. Just kind of weird things that as a kid you kind of pick up on, and it kind of strikes you as interesting. And one of those things, I was always kind of interested in this idea of the altar call or the invitation that they give at the end of the church service, because this is, this is potentially like it's very public, but it's also a very private moment. Like if somebody decides to go up to the front and initiate this process of, I guess, giving their life to the church and to God, and it's just, there's a lot of vulnerability in that, and just kind of from my experience, I've seen places where at times I feel like there's an expectation for when people approach the church and approach Christians in that setting, that there's an expectation that they are able to kind of conform to what they expect them to, that vulnerability that is required to go up and do that is not received in the way that is most gracious. And so I was just kind of always been a little curious about exploring that. And I kind of had the idea to do it within the setting for like, okay, well, what if I make this where is the most uncomfortable that we can probably get, like make it really uncomfortable for the pastor and make it really uncomfortable for the congregation also. And there was also that aspect of some things that I was seeing, watching a lot of films that were made about Christianity and about the church that I felt were lacking some aspect of reality of what some people actually might be dealing with and how they might communicate what they're struggling with and what they're thinking. And so that was another thing that, as much as I wanted to play up, kind of the ridiculousness of the situation and what this character was dealing with and expressing, I also wanted to bring that, like, hey, there's people that are really struggling and they're not going to express it in the way that is going to make somebody most comfortable.
Yeah. So so the actors on this, right? It's a pretty obviously vulnerable roles. I was super impressed. I think it's Adam Duncan. Is that the name of the guy?
Yeah, Adam Duncan.
Both actors were incredible, the pastor and Adam. But how did you come across them? Where did you find them? What did the casting process look like? Give us a little insight on that.
Yeah, so this project came together very quickly. I think we ended up shooting maybe about 2 months after I wrote the first draft. About a month after I had a draft that I was comfortable moving forward with. And I don't know, I just kind of met with Alex, met with a couple other people that I've been working with and friends, and kind of getting ideas, okay, who could we get for that? And Alex knew this actor named Bill, who plays the pastor personally, who's just kind of has done a lot of stage stuff and improv theater and things like that. And he's like, oh, I think he would be great for this. And I met with him and he seemed to be on board. And then I had another friend kind of roll through some options, and hey, he had worked with Adam before on one of his short films, or a couple of his short films, and kind of suggested he would be good for it. And I sent him the script and asked for an audition tape, and he just, like, from the tape, like, just had it. He just, like, 100% had it right there, and I was really shocked and impressed that he was able to go so deep and be so vulnerable with that. Like, that was one of the things that I was really lucky. Again, I was really lucky to have that I felt like on the day that I didn't really have to do a lot of shaping of the performances, particularly for Adam, because I was just like, he had the emotion, he had the intensity, he had the vulnerability. I just kind of needed to kind of shape, like, okay, kind of at this point, let it come out a little bit more. Yeah. And it was very different for Adam. He had told me after the fact that he hadn't done a lot of stuff like this. He kind of more does a lot of very serious dramas, and doesn't do, this is kind of the first comedy that he had done. But it was the kind of thing where I told him from the get-go that, like, look, this is a comedy, but I don't want this character is not the joke of the movie. I want this movie to take him seriously. What is funny is how everybody else reacts to it and the setting, but I want him to be real,
Yeah.
And he really took that to heart and ran with it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it makes your job as a director much much easier, I guess. I mean, you don't have to direct much of the performance side of it. So, I mean, yeah, we absolutely impressed with the acting. The acting was 100% spot on. We absolutely loved it. So I guess you're right. It's crazy how quickly you filmed this. You said 2 or 3 months after you wrote in the first draft, and then you were filming?
We put it together for the Louisiana Film Prize in Shreveport, and yeah, the shooting we shot it over the course of 2 days over a weekend. It went really quickly and really smoothly.
Which is actually one of my questions. Is like, what was the biggest challenge on the film set, if there was one?
So one of the big challenges was, we kind of talked with the church, and we kind of told them what the story was and what we wanted to do with it, and they were comfortable with it. But there was a genuine concern that some people in the congregation who might not like some of the things that were being said in the film, would come in and maybe freak out or go tell off on somebody and get us kicked out or whatever. So that was an ever-present concern. But I guess the biggest challenge was for us was getting extras. It's always hard to get extras for any film, and we were lucky to get, I want to say we maybe had 15 people show up to be extras, and that was just enough that we could, with our shot choices and our framing, that we were able to kind of move them around and kind of make the scene feel a little bigger than it was. Because that was one of the things that was really important to this movie for me, was that this feel like an actual church service to an extent, that there be a significant congregation. Because in a way, there are points in the film where the congregation are also characters. They're also participating in the action.
Right.
And it's important to have those people make it feel like it's a real church service and it's a real space,
Yeah. That's incredible. It definitely looked like a packed church. Like, I would never guess it was like only 15 extra. That's impressive.
Yeah. You can do a lot with a little. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for real. So what are you most proud about with this film? Whether it's the cinematography, acting, like, what are you most proud about?
Oh gosh.
All right, putting you on the spot there.
I think I'm just overall, like, I'm really proud of the, I don't know, I think I'm proud of just the final product, that it's something that, and whenever it premiered at Film Prize, it was something that I had so many people, like, being in that theater for the first time, watching it play on the big screen, like, every single joke had the audience completely rolling in laughter, and they were even laughing at stuff that I, maybe didn't intend as a joke or didn't think was funny. Where I was, whoa, okay, Yeah. So it's just, I'm proud of, it seems to have the effect that it is something that has emotionally affected plenty of people, because it does have this genuine value for faith, and this genuine, like, it does get to this point where it's kind of going straight for the heart, but it also allows itself to be funny and uncomfortable to get there, and people have really responded well to it. Yeah,
I agree. I think when my judging team first saw it, was going to share a comment with you that it was they wrote a train ride full of emotions, because it does have that comedy side to it and then like a heartfelt side to it, and I think it was overall they thought it was a beautiful film, and I personally loved it. So I'm super excited to share it and stream it with our audience in Fort Myers Beach. I'm so sorry that it can't be in person, but we'll do the best we can.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy tough time right now, and everyone is just kind of having to adjust and make things, and it's totally understandable. I wouldn't expect people to risk their health to
right. Right, no, absolutely, and which is why, hey, hopefully we can have some fun with the streaming thing. This is new to us, so we're still learning it, but so far it seems to be going well. But so I have one more question for you before we wrap up. How long have you been a filmmaker? I think you mentioned it earlier, but just that's not the question.
So, my first short film I did in 2018.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So if you could tell your younger filmmaker self anything, what would it be?
I would tell them, don't be afraid to involve other people and tell people what you want to do.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
That's good advice. Well, Chad, listen, thank you so much for your time. Is there any way we can find you on social medias or?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at a wild Chad appears.
Okay.
There. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Maybe not as active on Twitter as I am on those other two. I also have invitation _film on Instagram, at Jankus Media, also on Instagram, and Jankus Media is my website.
Awesome, cool, perfect. Well, you guys heard it. Well, Chad, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm really excited to show your film September 23rd, 7:30.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Another great filmmaker. Again, invitation play September 23rd. If you guys have any other questions, again, keep tuning in. We'll be doing these interviews all week long. My name is Kyle B. Thompson. Follow me on Instagram. There's my handle right there. But I'm really excited to be showing some films and talking to some great filmmakers over the next 2 weeks. But for now,